Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Drew, back with another NCAA Football 25 video for y'all, man. Hey, recently we did a video surrounding sleeper QBs that you guys could use in your upcoming dynasty seasons, and I thought to myself, why don't we go ahead and do it again? But this time, let's take a look at the wide receiver group. Now, the wide receivers in college football over the last couple years have been really good, and it's probably one of the best positions to offer. Now, there are a couple guys that didn't make the list just due to the fact that I don't really want to consider them a sleeper. Now, I will say there are some guys who are top 10 talent on this list, but they might not be as known as some of the guys that are on this list. With further ado, I'm going to give honorable mentions to Luther Burden, Emeka Ibuka, and Tet McMillan, man. Those are some of the top receivers in the league, but I wanted to leave those off the list because they're pretty well known around the league. All we are going to do is discuss possible wide receivers that you guys might want to check out if you're doing a rebuild series. Now, first one on the list, we are going to take a look at Miami's wide receiver, Xavier Restrepo. Now, Restrepo is one of the older players on this list, so you might not be able to have him super long in your dynasty, but he is one of the most productive receivers that we have in college football today. Now, he plays for the Miami Hurricanes, and he is a fourth-year player, so he is coming off his most successful season in college football by leading his team in receiving. Now, Restrepo aligns in the slot, and he's not the most athletic player on the field, but he always knows how to get open. And with the addition of Cam Ward coming to the team at quarterback, I believe that this will unlock the offense for them, and Cam Ward might have his number one target here in Xavier Restrepo. If I had to compare him to somebody in the NFL, I'd probably give him a more unathletic Adam Thielen. He's not super fast, but he knows how to get open. He plays in the slot, and everything that comes his way, he grabs it and he catches it. So if you guys want a solid receiver option, Xavier Restrepo is the way to go. Coming up next on the list, we have New Oregon's wide receiver, Evan Stewart, formerly known for his appearances at Texas A&M, but he is going to be joining the Oregon Ducks this year. So with that being said, Oregon already lost its quarterback, Bo Nix, but has recently been replaced with Oklahoma's quarterback, Dillon Gabriel. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, these two are going to have a great connection on the field. Evan Stewart is the number one receiver that you want for a team. He has great size with hyper-athletic ability, and he is one of the most dynamic athletes when he's on the field. He's a receiver that's just going to go up and get every ball that you throw him. He has excellent speed, and he runs great routes. He kind of gives me a vibe of Devontae Smith, but not as tall and not as lengthy. Now, it might be a little bit of a stretch to see how he does on the field, considering he does have a great wide receiver teammate in Tez Johnson, who we'll talk about later. But Evan Stewart is no doubt one of the best receivers to use. Now, like I said earlier, he will be joining his teammate Tez Johnson on this list, who is another very dynamic player. Now, if you guys remember a couple years ago, there was a player named Tutu Atwell. He's one of the most dynamic and shifty players on the field, and this is exactly what you will be getting with Tez Johnson. Now, he has great route running ability with electric speed, and he also has great hands. Now, if you decide to choose Oregon, there is, without a doubt, you are going to put a lot of points up on the board with these two receivers. But Tez Johnson, by far, is one of the most electric college football players that we have on this list. Now, you also could use him as a punt returner or a kick returner with his electric speed. Now, hopefully you guys are good with the sticks in EA college football when it comes out, because I can already tell you right now, you're going to be juking out a lot of defenders with this player, man. Let me know what you guys think about these two Oregon receivers. Are they going to be able to take it to the next step, or is there going to be controversy with possibly two number one receivers? Next up on the list, we have Stanford's product, Iom Manor. Now, you guys may remember this player from last year's Colorado game when he absolutely torched Colorado and Travis Hunter. Now, he's not going to have the best team and not the best quarterback, but Iom Manor is arguably one of the best receivers in college football. Now, the question is, are you going to be able to recruit him a quarterback that can get him the ball? Iom Manor has great ability off the catch and run, and he also can make a few defenders miss it if he needs to. He's a big receiver that can catch slants and take it to the house in an instant. He's also going to give you the ability to go up and get jump balls and just make tough contested catches. Like I said earlier, he might not be in the best position with his school, but I mean, if you're up for the challenge with Stanford and making them a rebuild team, he is definitely one of the best receivers to use, as he is going to get you first down after first down and possibly make a couple house calls after making some defenders miss. Now, I would kind of compare him to a little bit smaller and faster Michael Thomas, as he is a very big fan of the slant routes, if you know what I mean. Now, coming in next is not necessarily a sleeper player. I mean, he's pretty well known, but I think he deserves to be on this list as one of the most exciting college wide receiver prospects this year. Ole Miss's wide receiver Trey Harris. Now, he is a go-getter, man. He is going to be a wide receiver. If you want a deep ball, he excels at high points and has excellent control with his body and bringing down tough contested catches. Now, he also has the ability to make defenders miss and break a long touchdown. And with the ability to have a great quarterback throwing you the ball in Jackson Dart, that puts Trey Harris on this list as one of the best wide receivers to use in this upcoming year's game. Now, he might have a little bit of different opportunities, considering he does have another great wide receiver coming to Ole Miss this season, as we'll talk about later. But Trey Harris's ability to just make great plays and be a number one receiver on the field earns him a spot on this list. Now, if I had to compare him to somebody, I would say he is probably like a younger Amari Cooper. He's not as good on his routes, but just his ability to make great catches and get the chains moving is what he does. You could also say he could be like a Cortland Sutton, but just not as big. But overall, I think Trey Harris is going to be one of the best wide receivers to use in this upcoming year's game, and I'm excited to use him for sure. Next up on the list is going to be his teammate, former South Carolina wide receiver Juice Wells. Now, with Juice making the switch over to Ole Miss, he is a potential breakout star this year in college football. He's going to have great quarterback play, as we mentioned earlier in Jackson Dart, and the ability to have two number one receivers on both sides of the field opens up the field tremendously for these two-star receivers. Now, although Wells is more of a possession target than a field stretcher, he has a very competitive demeanor and run after the catch ability to make him a major threat in the middle of the field. He's strong running with the ball and has the ability to make defenders miss, and he's not afraid to put his shoulder down and knock a couple guys on their butts. He's just an overall natural playmaker at best with the ball in his hands. Now, if you guys remember in this year's college football season, wide receiver Jalen Polk, he reminds us a lot of him, and he just has the ability to make great plays and get his team in good positions. Overall, I would say Ole Miss is one of the best wide receiver rooms in the nation, and they're going to be a top team to use this year for sure in NCAA 25. Next up on the list, we have probably the most underrated player on the list, Ricky White III out of UNLV. Now, for all you major college fan lovers, you probably know who Ricky White is, but for all those casual players, this is somebody who you definitely want to know about. Last season, the only two wide receivers that had more yards than this man last year was Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze. So with those two now in the NFL, why is there no reason that this man shouldn't be the best wide receiver in football? I think it's probably because he's playing at UNLV. Now, for those of you who want a fun rebuild and a star player to use, Ricky White is the guy to use, man. He has great quickness off the snap that is going to allow him to create awesome separation for deep bomb threats, and he is also just an elite playmaker. He can make guys miss, and with his long frame, he has an enormous catch radius. Ricky White has to be one of the top receivers that you use this year, and he's going to make your dynasties a lot more fun, that's for sure. Next up on the list, we have NC State star receiver Kevin Concepcion. Now, Kevin is very similar to last player that we just talked about in Ricky White, as he's probably one of the more underrated or less known players around the NCAA. Now, with that being said, he is no slouch, and he can get catches, he can get touchdowns. This man can do it all. And the one thing I will say I like about him the most is the motor that he has on the field. He's not afraid of contact. He's not afraid of making the big plays. He's somebody who lives for the moment, and he had a tremendous season last year, getting over 1,000 yards and putting up 10 touchdowns on the year. Now, the only thing that's going to put him down on this list is he plays for NC State. Nothing against them, but they don't have the best team. But that is also why he is on this list, because NC State could possibly be a really fun rebuild because of this player. Now, if you surround him with the right pieces and find him a good quarterback, he's going to make highlight plays after having great ball placement from a good quarterback. He's somebody that can take it to the house on any given moment, and he's also somebody with a great catch radius. He's a highlight reel waiting to happen, and he's going to be one of the top players to use in this year's Dynasty mode. Next up, we have new Louisville Cardinals wide receiver Colin Lacy. Now, he's another player on this list that probably isn't well known, as he went to a really small school in South Alabama. Now, with that being said, he is now on a better team in Louisville, and he is ready to make his mark. Last year, he was number 1 out of all wide receivers in yards after catch. Now, he also was number 1 in yards per contact. So, he is somebody who gets the ball a lot, he gets a lot of targets, and he obviously makes some things happen. He's a smaller receiver, so he's not going to excite you with his big frame or anything like that, but when he's in space, man, this dude is dangerous, and he is a highlight reel waiting to happen. Now, if you can put him on a good team and get him the right plays, he's somebody that can put your offense to the next level. Now, you could probably use him at kick returner or punt returner, but you probably will mostly want to use him in the slot. He's not somebody who's going to razzle and dazzle you with his route running skills, but he is a number 1 option in the slot, and he is going to be somebody that you can utilize in your rebuild season at Louisville. Next up, we have star wide receiver from USC, Zachariah Branch. Now, out of all the players on the list, this is probably one of the more exciting players that you'll want to use. Even if it's just in a quick play now mode, you gotta try this player out, man. He is probably one of the most electric and exciting players in college football. His ability to cut and burst in rapid successions kind of reminds me of somebody like Jalen Waddle or a younger Deshaun Jackson. He's a dangerous deep threat, and he has the ability to come down with acrobatic catches, despite being only 5'9" and 170 pounds. He has elite speed, as he is a former track athlete, and he is somebody that can make defenders miss on any given night. Now, although USC doesn't have Caleb Williams anymore, expect Branch to still be a factor in the passing game. Overall, Zachariah Branch has got to be one of the best players to use in this year's upcoming game, and he is somebody that is going to make your rebuild at USC extremely fun if you can get him with a good team. Now, like I said earlier, he's going to be somebody who can break any play that you want, and that's why he is on this list. But overall, man, that is going to do it for today's video, man. These are just, in my opinion, some receivers that I think are underrated, or some receivers that I think you definitely should try in the upcoming game this year. Now, I know I missed some guys. Let me know in the comment section who you guys also think should be on this list, because as always, I like to hear what you guys have to say, and I'm also curious to try out some new wide receivers myself. I know that there's some great up-and-coming young talent like Jeremiah Smith around the league. I'm definitely going to try out some of those guys too. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and as always, make sure that you like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next NCAA 25 video.